On this episode of the Actual Fluency Podcast, I'm joined by Jan van der Aar. Jan and I talk about language learning while traveling the world.
Welcome to the Actual Fluency Podcast, the podcast that gives you the tools and inspiration to learn languages faster and more efficiently. And now your host, Chris Broholm.
Are you thinking about starting your own language learning website? Then check out HostGator. Use the coupon code ActualFluency to get you your first month for just 1 cent. Get started by going to actualfluency.com/HostGator. Do you like audiobooks? Well, then Audible is for you. If you go to actualfluency.com/book, you can choose a free audiobook from a selection of 150,000 titles. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Actual Fluency Podcast. I'm so happy you're listening in on this episode, which is number 23. And obviously I'm very excited to have kept going this far. As I wrote in the post you might have seen, I have not yet, at least, missed putting out a podcast episode on a Friday, 8 p.m. CEST, which it's called CEST right now because we're on summertime, but I guess it's CAT some of the year as well. But apart from that, everything is going well. I'm doing very well myself, and I hope you are doing well in language learning as well. So without further ado, actually, I just want to jump straight into the good stuff, because I'm talking to Jan van der Aar today. And me and Jan, the reason that I really wanted to get Jan on is because the last 5 years or so, he's been traveling the world while learning tons of languages. I mean, I've been following his blog, and I really encourage you guys to check it out as well. Go on YouTube. You can see some of the video interviews he's done with great polyglots such as Tim Donor, Connor Clyde, all the great people, Benny Lewis as well. But basically what attracted me to Jan was that he is living the life that I want to live, which is basically working location independently and just traveling the world, seeing things and learning languages. And if you're anywhere interested, or any degree of interest, and if you have any degree of interest in that topic, then this interview is for you with Jan van der Aar. And I had so much fun recording this interview, and I'm really pleased that Jan took the time out of his day to come on and do the interview. So that's it for me. Enjoy the interview, and I'll see you in another episode. All right, today I'm very happy to welcome onto the show Mr. Jan van der Aar. Jan has been traveling the world, learning many languages, and he's been documenting the journeys on his blog, Nonstop Traveling, janvandaar.com, and also on YouTube. So, Jan, how are you doing today?
Hey, Chris. Yeah, thank you for the lovely introduction. Today I'm doing quite well. It's nice weather here in the Netherlands. Yeah, well, I'm ready for the show. So
let's go. You're pumped.
Very excited to be here. Yeah.
Let's go. All right. Of course, we met in Berlin for the Polyglot conference. I want to talk to you about that in just a minute. But for those people out there who might not yet have heard of you, can you give sort of a little introduction? How did you start traveling the world and learning all these languages?
Yeah. Okay, so when I was 20, when I was in college, I got the opportunity to study abroad for 1 semester. I had two possibilities. One was a program that I could do in the States, and the other one was in China. And I always wanted to explore the world. So I thought, America, okay, we know that. It's a Western culture. I'd been to New York once before. So I was like, why not going to the other side of the world? Why not going to China, explore a new world? So that's why I went to China, and I had a great time there, and I learned the language, and I met many people. And after that, I was like, okay, I don't want to go back to the Netherlands and start doing what everyone else do. I want to continue travel the world, learn languages, and get to know interesting people. Wow. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years.
Amazing. And how long was that semester? Was it a quarter year?
It was only for 1 semester. That was 5 months.
Right.
It was not that long. But afterwards, I got the chance to go on exchange to Indonesia. I did 2 summer semesters in Korea. I traveled a lot in Eastern Europe. Last year, I spent a month in Brazil, and I will go back in a month. I spent 3 months in Costa Rica, where I learned Spanish. I always try to combine traveling and work. But also, to pick up a new language.
Of course, because, when people hear that you just decided, well, I'm going to travel the world, of course, something has to pay for that. So
yes, exactly.
You found a way to combine those two, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Well, that had not always been the case. In the beginning, I was a student and I had a part-time job in a local supermarket here. I worked at the vegetable department. That was fun, but I could not really make enough money to travel the world, and especially because it was only a part-time job, right? But it was something that I could combine with my studies at the time. So in the beginning, I mean, life in Asia is quite cheap. I had, in Dutch we call it studiefinanciering. It's like a subsidy from the government that if you are a student, you get a salary for studying. I guess you have the same in Denmark, right?
Socialist states, man.
Socialist states, yeah. So, I managed to have enough income to survive in China, eating noodles every day and not taking taxis about buses. Actually, like if you have 500 or 600 euros a month, that's enough to live in Asia. But it's not enough to travel the world and do the things you like. So
what did you do?
So after I graduated, before I graduated, I did an internship was in a company in Hong Kong, a Dutch company. And then my boss one time, he asked me if I could translate the company website to 10 languages because he knew that I had traveled a lot before. I said, well, of course, I don't speak all these languages myself, but I know a lot of people that are native and that speak English very well. So they helped me out and I paid them for it. And then in a few days, we translated the whole website for a very low budget to 10 languages. And I was wondering, if that company was happy with the product, with the service, why couldn't we sell this product to other companies? So then I put an advertisement on the local eBay. In Holland, we call it Marktplaats. And then, the companies, they start asking for quotations. And from that time on, I registered the company. And
wow.
And I had a revenue,
cool.
A stable revenue.
And of course, most importantly, is independent. It's location independent.
Yeah, it's location independent, exactly. In the beginning, I was using my friends. Of course, that's the wrong words, but I worked with my friends that were not professional translators. Afterwards, when we start cooperating with big trade companies here in the Netherlands, we started working with professional translators that have the experience in the field. Our native speakers, of course, have been working as a translator for at least 5 years. With has the certificates and diplomas and everything.
Right.
So I also partnered up with a friend here in the Netherlands. So he's like the one that does the contact with the clients and everything, and I do the project management online from wherever.
Great. So you kind of upgraded the company from a little hobby business maybe to a serious,
to a serious professional business, right? Because that's what you need to become if you want to have those big trade companies as your client, right?
Yeah, you need to be professional, definitely. All right, that's great. And I'm sure a lot of people have these opportunities to do any kind of location independent work. I mean, myself, I don't have a diploma in Danish or English, but I've been teaching.
You're very fluent, huh?
Oh, thank you. You should hear my Danish. No. Teaching languages on italki or anywhere, there's such a huge demand. And if you have a language that's popular, then you can just go in and get, 50 hours a week if you wanted to.
Exactly.
So that's just an example. But you obviously did translating, which is another point. People can get employed by companies that require online, moderation and stuff.
Exactly.
Just to let people know, I guess, is that you don't have to work in a supermarket to fund if you want to travel. You can find a lot of work on the internet.
Exactly. I think the thing is that you just need to be very good at something. So if you're good at teaching, or if you're good at English, then you can do online teaching. Or, well, if you're good with languages, you can work as a translator, but you can also start your own translation business like I did. If you have the language skills, as you mentioned before, you can also do online moderation. There are tons of examples. Maybe you're a good web designer.
Yeah.
Well, that's also something that you can do location independently, right?
Graphics or...
you a good Photoshop or... yeah, exactly. Also
voiceover work and...
voiceover work.
That's cool. A lot of video games actually need... often need people with a native language other than English to do the voiceovers in that language. So lots of opportunity. But let's get on with the polyglot gathering in Berlin, which I of course found amazing, and it was a great pleasure to meet you. And I was listening to your talk as well. What did you think of the event? Did you have fun?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I felt like the second event. I mean, the first one was in Budapest last year, right?
Right.
And it was all very new for everyone, and I'd never met all these people before. But then this time, I mean, for me, it felt much more relaxed, and I was like, hey, there is this guy. There's this guy. Oh yeah, I know you, and it was very. Comfortable, and I found it relaxed. Yeah, it's really good to to see all those people that you know very well, but you meet very few, right?
Right.
Very little.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's very nice to meet them all once a year, to learn from them, to hear their stories, to listen to their talks. That's a great thing. So,
did you practice a lot of languages, or did you?
Yeah, all of them.
Networking? Okay.
No, of course. No, I practice all my languages. Yeah, especially like Cantonese is always fun.
Right.
Mandarin. I did some Indonesian, some Japanese. I'm not very good at Indonesian and Japanese, those two, but it's fun to practice.
Well, you
it's
did a video in Japanese.
Yeah, I did one.
Worked out.
It's not that. It worked out. It worked out pretty well in the video.
Were you impressed by how many people had an interest in Asian languages specifically when we were in the middle of Germany, or do you think that's quite normal? I thought a lot of people had, either Chinese or Japanese or Korean, I guess.
Yeah. If I was surprised, I think so. But on the other hand, all the people that go to the gathering, they are interested in learning languages. And I think, Mandarin, a language like Mandarin is a language that's, I think you can say that's getting more and more popular in the community, not only in our community, but also like language learners in general. So, well, maybe I was not very surprised because I know a lot of Mandarin learners, but I was happy to meet them. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. And of course, Mandarin was the first language you got when you got to your internship exchange program.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of your strongest languages today.
Yeah, you can say so.
What do you think of people, I guess the problem with Mandarin, I think, and it's changing a little bit now, but I think the problem was before that it's like, oh, it's Chinese, it's so mysterious, and it must be really difficult.
Yes.
And of course, the tonal aspects and kind of the pronunciation will be difficult, relatively speaking, but then you get the easy grammar, right? So maybe people are just discovering now that, oh, it's just another language. It's not this mythical being of, is that true, you think?
I think I've experienced that a lot of people find it's very hard to learn Mandarin at the beginning. It's all those tones and the strange intonation, the vowels that are hard to pronounce. It's quite an obstacle for most language learners. So, I think that's often the reason. The people say Mandarin. No, I've tried to learn Mandarin, but it's too hard. I gave up because the beginning it's quite hard. I have to admit that.
So what do you do?
Well,
what did I do? What's your top tip for a new Mandarin learner to kind of get over that hump?
So what I did, and that's also my tip for new Mandarin learners, is don't focus too much on the characters in the beginning, but focus on the pronunciation of the syllables and the tones. That's what I did. So if they, for example, the word car in Chinese is 车, it's quite a hard sound for not Mandarin speakers to pronounce ch. They say like you have to smile, when you pronounce a sound, and you have to open your mouth a bit, and they say ch. Yeah. I would really get a Mandarin teacher that can explain clearly to you how to how do you say that? How to keep your mouth? No, not how to keep your mouth, but how to shape or where to put your tongue and your lips and everything. Right. I can tell you clearly how to pronounce these syllables.
To get some help from the beginning, basically.
Yes. But then afterwards, like when you know how to pronounce all these tones and when you know all these syllables, then you can learn by yourself. Right. Then you can learn by yourself. Then it's good to talk in a while with, to speak in a while with a native speaker, for the rhythm. So you can, to make sure that you pronounce everything clearly and correctly. You can have them to correct you, but. Yeah, that's enough, I think. Then you just need to speak. Once you know the basics, you just need to speak, and to learn new words.
Practice. And
practice.
And this immersion kind of technique is something you also mention in your videos. That's what you do. Probably most famously the Portuguese example, where you really emphasize the fact that you really just speak.
Yeah, exactly. Because
I was just wondering if you could share that kind of process of you. Let's say you land in whatever country and you need to learn the language, and you have this mission. You're not just going there for travels or anything. You're just going there to learn the language and have fun. And you want to use this speak approach. Do you do no kind of studying at home, or what kind of studying would you do?
I do have some SML books that I read once in a time, but I just read it when I'm bored or when I'm on a bus or in an airplane. I read those books in order to learn new words, to get familiar with the structure of the sentences. But I feel that the most I learn from speaking and from asking questions to native speakers. So that's only something I do. It's not where I put the focus. I put the focus on speaking and having fun, enjoy the country, listen to music also.
Right. But if you know nothing, how do you get started?
Yeah. Okay. So then you need to start with books. That was not the case for me in Portuguese because I knew some Spanish before. For example, if I had to learn Arabic now, I could not do it by just flying to a country where they speak Arabic and just start speaking with them. That won't work. No. So then in the beginning, then in that case, I would start with books and maybe a teacher on iTalk that can help me to learn the basics. Right.
So you need some kind of foundation, but if you have that, and I'm sure a lot of people,
if you have it, for example, if you speak. Crazy. Yeah, exactly. For example, if you speak Spanish, you can go to Brazil and you can just start, and sometimes you can guess what they say, sometimes not, but you have the basics. It's easy to start from there. And it's the same that if you speak those two languages, and you want to learn Italian or French, for example, you can pick it up. You can pick up a language really quick that way. You don't have to be very intelligent for that. I've been a very bad language student at secondary school. So,
right, yeah, that seems to be a pattern as well, though. I mean, even the best and most famous polyglots in the world, someone like Benny Lewis, is like, I didn't know any languages until I was 22.
Well, exactly.
English, right? It shows you that you don't have to even consider how good or bad you were in school because it doesn't matter at all. This is a different time.
Yeah, exactly. There are very good students, and they are good. I had a slide in my presentation in Berlin where I explained the differences between a good language learner and between a good language student.
Right.
And there are people.
That slide, by the way, I think we should put a link to it in the comments if you can get it somehow.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because that was an amazing thing, actually.
I want to basically try to point out that you don't necessarily have to be a bad language learner if you are a bad student. I was a bad student. I did not worry about my tests. I did not learn a lot at home. I did not study at home. Okay, those are two different things, right? So I was very unsuccessful, but I'm a good learner because I'm interested in other cultures. I'm interested in other people. I like to ask questions. I like to travel. So with all that motivation, makes it much easier for me to learn the language. I mean, if you give me a book and they say learn this language, no, that won't work for me. You have to know the reason why you want to learn it, right?
Right. Exactly.
And I find that very important.
Get some friends, native speakers.
Exactly. With all of that, I would be nowhere in language learning.
Great. So that's a top tip. I think I sometimes do top tips in the episode.
Yeah,
that is.
I guess that's a top tip for bad students. There is hope. Just find a way that you can enjoy the language and go out there and talk with the people and open a book and. Yeah, that's what I did, and I'm quite sure that it would also work for many others.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure on that, definitely. But I like I like the fact that you're honest about that as well, and that's kind of been my philosophy with my blog as well. Just showing that even if you're really, really, really bad, then that doesn't have to stop you. Learning aspects can always be done, even though
exactly. You just need to change something in your learning process that didn't work before. Just make it work.
Yeah. Immerse yourself. Get tutoring.
Exactly.
Don't worry so much about the grammar books and the the school books.
It's too boring. At least it's too boring for me to only learn from books.
Yeah. Even
some people do love. Yeah, exactly. And some people do love to learn from books, and well, I respect that. They can be very successful language learners by only learning from books, but that doesn't work for everyone. And if that way doesn't work for you, I would say then try another way.
Yeah, just keep trying. Be like Edison. Try 10,000 things, and then 10,001 might be the secret sauce to your success.
I see, and use the way that works for you.
Yeah, great. So you're back in the Netherlands, which is unusual, I suppose, for a longer period of time.
For this year, I've been in the Netherlands for only 2 months altogether or something in total. Yeah,
that's great. Where's the next adventure going to take you? Do you know?
To Brazil. So within 2 weeks, I fly back to Brazil. I want to focus on my Portuguese and my Spanish. I do speak these languages quite okay, but not very fluent. And I expect to, my mission is to get to basic fluency in 3 months in both.
Right. Oh, you're staying there in Brazil for 3 months?
Probably 2 months in Brazil, and then 1 month that will be traveling in other countries in Latin America where they speak Spanish.
Right. To test that as well.
To test that, yeah.
Oh, that's good. And do you have any kind of upcoming languages you want to learn in maybe a year or two, or are you just settled on kind of keeping those active that you have learned already?
I've like the goal that I want to be very fluent in at least 8 languages before my 30th. It will be I just turned 27, so that will be in 3 years. Those languages do not include Indonesian and Japanese. So then there is also room for another language where I need to become fluent in, and I guess it's going to be French or Italian. Right. I do also like Thai very much, by the way.
Yeah, I like the sound of it. Particularly, I don't know how it correlates to the sound of Chinese, but to me it sounds pretty. Well,
cool. It's a tonal language as well. So yeah, if you know a tonal language like Cantonese or Mandarin or maybe Vietnamese, then it shouldn't be that hard to learn. At least that's what they say. I haven't tried myself, but
well, that's what they have to say, right? All right, cool. So what do you think? I just talked about the difference between adding and keeping languages kind of up to a point. Do you do any other thing other than obviously going back to the country, which of course some people might not have the opportunity to do? Do you have any other kind of maintenance tips for languages? Do you listen to podcasts or?
Yes, well, I had so I'm helping a Chinese businessman here in the Netherlands to set up a sales office, and yesterday I put him on the airplane back to China. So I stayed with him for the last 2 weeks, and I spoke more Mandarin than Dutch in the Netherlands.
All right.
So it's not that I always go to the country and speak the language there, but sometimes I also have visitors or clients that come here and I speak the language. I speak their language with them. So that's another way that I maintain my languages. Podcasts, not necessarily, but I do watch a lot of tutorials on YouTube, podcasts as well, but I prefer listening to songs and search for the lyrics online and translate it to English.
Oh yeah. Not Dutch.
I do like. No, there are not so many. Like, for example, Spanish. There are not so many Spanish-Dutch translations online out there. So now then
There should be.
I look for
the
the
market.
Maybe that's a new market. Yeah.
Right, cool. Have you found that is it a problem? The more languages you add, that you kind of lose something from the previous, or do you find that you've had a pretty good balance with it?
Well, I think the thing is that you need to continue using them, right? So, for example, last year I learned Japanese for 3 months, but after those 3 months I haven't really maintained the language, so I forgot a lot.
Right.
You need to keep practicing at least once a week. So now these days I schedule one Japanese class a week.
Oh, yeah.
My progress is not it's going very slow, but at least I'm not forgetting what I knew.
Yeah, and you kind of keep it fresh by doing at least 1 hour a week. Most people
1 hour a week at least. Yeah,
great.
Exactly.
Fantastic. What was the hardest challenge you found with? I guess you can pick from any of the languages you've learned. Did you have any kind of challenges that stood out where you really had to summon extra motivation or to get over it, or have you found it quite?
I think that was Japanese, because in all the languages that I've learned, I've quite an environment in all those languages. That means that I've been to the country. I know many friends that have that language as a native language, or I watch series in which they speak language. But for Japanese, it was quite unknown for me. I had been to Japan twice before, but I haven't got a Japanese environment, and that's something that I missed, and I'm still missing. Japanese, I do have Japanese friends, but they are, Japanese are hard workers. They're always working. So they do not really have time to talk to me every day or to chat with me on Facebook. Right. I found that hard about learning Japanese, also because of the grammar that is so alien to me. It's so different from all the other languages that I've learned. So I found, for me, Japanese was a very hard language to learn, and still is. Right,
and I guess you already talked about your best tip for overcoming it is simply just get help.
Get help and build. So the tip for myself would be, build a Japanese environment around you. I'm still working on that. Right. For now, I put a focus on Portuguese and Spanish. So I can't focus on all the languages at the same time.
That's impossible. You can work on it later. But
I can work on the flow. I will focus on Japanese maybe next year.
Right. All right, so we talked a lot about language learning, but maybe we could take a moment to talk about a bit of traveling or tips with that, because a lot of people, I'm sure, and myself included, that's why I'm asking the question, a lot of people are interested in going out traveling the world and just kind of going to a country. What things do you need to do before you go, and what sort of things are important when you arrive? Do you have any kind of tips there, or can you just go on a plane and you're there and that's it?
Well, 5 years ago, I used to buy Lonely Planets and plan everything and before I go to the place. Now these days, especially when I go to countries where I speak the language, I feel much more relaxed and I don't do all the planning in advance. What you should do when you go to what I always do when I go to a place where I haven't been before is I always take a look at Wiki Travel. I found that a very useful site. For example, when you arrive at the airport, you want to take a taxi to the city center. In some places, they scam you. You don't know the prices. That's often the first scam that you get when you go to a new country. So I always check Wiki Travel and see where you can get the best taxis at the airport. Where you can find the official taxis, how much you should pay to the city center. That's often where I start. I also often book an apartment or hotels before I get to a new place, a new country.
Right, to get the good price or...
Yeah, or ask someone that has been to the country before. Maybe he has some things that he recommends you to go. Or to do or not to do.
Okay, great.
Or maybe, because I've been on the road for quite a while now. And so for me, it's often quite fun. I just upload post a message on Facebook. We'll be in Brazil next month. Who is out there? And there's always so many people out there that are happy to guide you around. So that's a benefit that you have when you've been on the road for a bit longer.
Right, and obviously the community as well. I mean, you've met so many people when you've been there once, I suppose, and also in the language learner community.
It's crazy.
Happy to connect and meet up.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, for example, Alfred Miller from the Philippines is another friend that I met through the YouTube community in Makati in Manila in the Philippines a few years ago. And then last year I met him in Xiamen in China, and then he was in Berlin as well. And who knows, next time, you really keep, or Connor Klein, I think I met him in maybe 8 or 10 countries, you really keep meeting the same people everywhere. And that's fun.
That's really
cool. You never know. Before I was always like, okay, I'm not going to meet this person ever again. But then, yeah, I don't know, for some reason,
small world.
It's a small world. It's a small world.
Small world. I love that. Do you have any tips for people who come to the country and they're looking to do your kind of philosophy of throwing themselves in the language, maybe try to get some native friends without knowing anyone there? Have you tried that before? Just going to a country without knowing anyone and just kind of, how do you then go about speak if you don't have a network?
You have this website called Meetup. So that's a very convenient website to find like language exchange groups. There are also, you can Google for language casts, as they call it, or language meetups, language exchange. I always start from there. You meet people that are also interested in language learning. What other way? Like you can also, I often go out, and I'm a very open person, so I'm quite easy to connect to other people, also on the streets or in restaurants. Talk to the people, ask for directions, approach people, and
Moses McCormick style. Do you know what time this shop closes?
yeah, that's a good one. It's a good icebreaker, I guess they call it.
Yeah,
and it's. Yeah, just approach people and ask them anything. It's a good way to start a conversation and, to become friends.
Yeah. Okay, great. And I really like that because I want to go in a few years' time. So I'm collecting all the information already. And hopefully other people can use it as well. What is your? Do you have kind of a goal with your language learning and travels? You said apart from wanting to speak 8 languages when you're 30, do you have a plan that when I'm this old, I'm gonna settle down in the south of France with a bottle of wine and my company, or do you want to keep traveling? Just keep going.
Okay, so I have the goal that I want to be able to speak 10 languages before my 30th, but 8 of them like fluent. Right. So that's a goal. The other goal is that I want to travel to 100 countries before that age, before 13. So in order to get to that target, I need to travel 10 countries a year. That's, I think last year I did 20 or something. So that's, that should be feasible. Yeah, easy. It should be feasible.
You're all over the world, man. You're even with Korea and...
Then on the other end, I also have financial goals. I want to have a certain income by the end of this year, by the end of next year, and when I get 30, I want to buy a house.
Yeah. Where would you want to live if you could choose? I mean, you've already been to many countries, so you had a lot of inspiration. If
I would buy a house, I would look where the most interesting place would be to buy a house in terms of the market and the real estate situation in the country at the time. So where I will buy a house where I have the opportunity that the market price goes up or something, or where it's easy to rent it out. Or I would rather consider that when I buy a house than the location, because I won't be there anyway. Maybe. Well, I don't know.
Some of the time.
Who knows what I have? Yeah, some of the time. Probably.
It'd be pretty fun to just buy a house and never be there. But yeah, I guess it's an investment.
It's an investment, exactly. Yeah. And it's good. It's if you have a house, then it's at least something stable that I have then.
Right.
At the moment, I don't have much stability, so it's...
No, but that's the choice you make, isn't it? I mean, you like the instability.
Exactly. I find instability very exciting. It makes me also very flexible. And yeah, because I've had so many, not only business opportunities, but also social opportunities, thanks to the flexibility that I have. So
Being at the right time at the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. It's a good lesson to pass on. I feel like it's just be at the right time at the right place, and you'll be successful.
Mm-hmm. Now, many opportunities out there in the world, and my vision is that if you're always at the same place with the same people, it might be very safe and stable, but you miss so much.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to miss that.
No.
So no, at least for the next 3 years, I will continue doing what I do, and then let's see what happens after that.
Well, what a wonderful way to end. Just wanted to offer you the opportunity to give any shout outs or share some of your URLs. I already said janvandaar.com, the blog where there's lots of interesting videos with the
exactly. If you are interested in travel the world, learning new languages, and meeting interesting people, I would say take a look at my website. I also have a Facebook page called Non-Stop Traveling where you can follow me. And see you there.
See you there. And you're obviously are you going to Novi Sad for the conference?
I will be in Brazil, so unfortunately I can't go.
All right, but you will be in Berlin next year, I hope.
I will be in Berlin next year. Yeah, that's I should be able to be there.
Awesome.
So see you there, Chris.
Yeah, see you there. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and share your experience. It's been
Thank you very much for the interview.
No problem. I'll see you.
See you, Chris. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Actual Fluency Podcast. For more information, be sure to check out actualfluency.com. Until next time, enjoy learning and have a great day.
Shanghai!